Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will talk about hierarchies in QlikView. So let's move on and see what is a hierarchy and what are the different types of hierarchies that are there. So as per the definition, hierarchy is a system in which members of an organization or society are ranked according to relative status or authority. So before I go on the examples which I mentioned here, the very first hierarchy is what we see at our home. We have, all of us have parents, so they are our first level hierarchy. Then we have grandparent, that is like a second level that we have, or the second node we have in the hierarchy. Then we have great grandparents, that is like another top level or the upper level in the hierarchy. So this is the hierarchy which we generally found at our home. But when we are talking in the sense of a business, hierarchies can be found at different locations. So first one is the organization hierarchy. That's where most of you will be aware that every employee has a manager. The manager has a senior manager. Senior manager has either director or some other designation there. So that means a proper hierarchy is maintained in the organization so that you are enforcing the planning, the kind of rules, the cultures, and all of those things in that sense. Second one is, as an example, is a product hierarchy. Every product that we see as an individual has some hierarchy behind it. So for example, if we are talking about some soft drinks, let's say Coca-Cola or Pepsi, they have an upper hierarchy, which I just said was soft drinks. So within soft drinks, these can be soda drinks. There can be other drinks like fruit drinks and all. So this is a kind of hierarchy that generally a company maintains to well define their products. The third one is the customer hierarchy. Some companies uses this complex customer hierarchy where they have a complex system in place where let's say we have a very big company, for example, HSBC Bank, which has a headquarter in UK, but it has all the different subsidiaries all over the world. Then they are basically the hierarchy or the nodes or the different places they have the presence. And if some company is doing a business with HSBC, they will need to properly maintain their hierarchy about their subsidiaries and all of that kind of information so that they can do efficient reporting and all. So these are a couple of examples of hierarchy which you will usually find when you are working on a reporting or a dashboarding project. So let's move on from here to understand the hierarchy function that we have in QlikView. Well, this is pretty wordy slide, and I would just give a very high level overview about what is node and all of these different parameters which is mentioned for this hierarchy function. And why? Because in the next slide I have a very clear presentation or a slide which clearly tells what input that you give and what output you will going to expect based and how these different parameters will be assigned to that output. So a hierarchy function accepts the node ID, the parent ID, node name, parent name, so on and so forth parameters. You can actually go into the QlikView help and understand and read all of this information. But in the next slide, I have information, much better information for you, a much clearer and crisp information for you. So this is the kind of standard input that QlikView will expect from you to give you the output which is desired, like a proper hierarchy. So here we, as an input, we have the child ID, the parent ID, the department, the designation in that department, and then the employee ID. So for example, the very first one is there is like nothing department because we have a designation of MD. MD is a managing director that relates to the entire company irrespective of the department. So that's why no department information was present. The second one is child ID is 2 assigned to COO or Chief Operating Officer, and the department is operation. For Chief Operating Officer, the parent ID is 1, which is Managing Director. So CEO will going to report to Managing Director, And same is the case of CFO, where child ID is 5 but parent ID is mentioned as 1. That means CFO also reports to the managing director. And then we have some other nodes like third node in child ID, operations manager, will going to report the CEO in this hypothetical example. And the fourth one, which is supervisor, will going to report to operations manager. So that's how in the similar way finance hierarchy is defined. So this is a very simple example to clearly tell how you will going to define the child ID and how the parent ID should be mapped, so that some clear instructions are given to the QlikView about how each child is related to that parent. And then QlikView does its internal processing to figure out the different levels that you have and define a clear path like this, which says how your hierarchy is in the actual sense. So this is the kind of very standard and simple input that QlikView will expect from you, and the output will be here, and that's where we will understand the different parameters that we saw in the last slide, like this one, all of these node ID, parent ID, node name. This is I have mapped to this output so that you can clearly understand. So node ID, which was the very first parameter, it tells you about the child ID, that ID which is actually related to a particular or the real node. That means in this case 1 is related to MD, 2 is related to CO, so on and so forth. Similarly, you have parent ID, that means who is the parent of this child ID. So this is the parent ID, which is clearly indicated in our example, but in your example it might not be the case. So in that way you may need to interpret that parent ID is basically the parent for this child ID. The third one is department, so this is a direct input, no problem in that. But depth, if you see the last slide, here you have the depth. Depth, as per the definition, it is a string used to name the new depth field which contains the depth of the node in the hierarchy. That means the node is at first level, second level, third level, fourth level, or what is a depth as in the numeric fashion. So that way you can identify, if you are looking at certain level, then you can identify what level it is by looking at this particular number. So this is how you will going to interpret what is depth. Designation is simply coming right from here, from this input, so no problem. Designation 1, 2, 3 and 4 is what QlikView does the internal processing based on the information that you give to this node name. Is the name of the field that contains the name of the node, and then path source, where the name of the field, where it is the name of the field that contains the name of node used to build the node path. So here in this case, this is the kind of path. However, path is clearly mentioned here, but designation 1, 2, 3 and 4, the field or the path is being derived based on the node name and path source information, and that's how I have indicated over here that these 2, 3 or 4 columns are basically indicating that they are derived from the path source. The next column, which is employee ID, is simply input field. Parent name is basically name of the parent, which is there. Parent name is a string, or if it will create a new field with the parent name field. If omitted, this field will not be created. So basically it is useful that you create a field, but if you are not specifying, the field will not be created. The last one is the path. If we go back, path is basically saying it is a string used to name the new path field which contains the path from the root to the node. So that's what it is created right from the start. In case of a supervisor, it is starting from MD to CFO to finance manager and supervisor. Here we also need to indicate the delimiter which is present between two consecutive words, MD and CEO. The delimiter dash or hyphen is present. So if you go back, here is the path delimiter. So if you are not specifying anything, like in my case I have defined the dash, then this forward slash will be used as a default one. So if you are not specifying forward slash, if you have a choice, then please do specify that. So now let's go to the QlikView and see the script. So here in this QlikView scripting editor window, if you look at this hierarchy, this table, where just before the load we have mentioned the hierarchy function, or between the table name and the load statement we have the hierarchy function, where we are specifying the same parameters: child ID, parent ID, designation which is node name, parent name, path source, path delimiter, and what is the depth. So all of this information is what I explained in the presentation earlier, and this, based on this information, your hierarchy will going to create. So if I just click OK, because I've already run this script, so this is what you will going to get, that child ID or parent ID will already be there based on the input. Department was already there, but depth is what newly created. These designation based on the depth that you have in the parent and child ID, based on that these designations, like you have the level 4 depth 4 field was created, and then the parent name and the path field based on the parameters that you specified. Now down there below, we have just shown the sum of salary or the salary details, which is like an additional field or from the another table. If I go back into the script, here I have the salary details where I have employee ID and salary. Here employee ID is being joined with the designation hierarchy table where we have specified the hierarchy function, and that's how we are able to drive the salary for these different people. And because pivot tables is a good way just to show this hierarchical information, where we are first showing the MD, COO, operations manager, and the supervisor, it can clearly show the different hierarchy that we have in place. And another one which is interested is your interest will be to show the hierarchical information in some sort of tree view, because that's how we generally interpret. If we learn it from the books, or historically if we have been doing into programming, that's how you show, or the folder structure is a good example which you generally find in Windows, that first is the main folder, then subfolder, then subfolder, and all of so on and so forth. So that's how you specify this. Only setting that you need to do is that when defining the list, you make sure you're clicking this tree, show as tree view, and you specify the same separator which you specified here as a delimiter. Otherwise it will not give you the desired output. Well, here in this pivot table, I will just quickly show you the properties, how I created it. So those 4 fields which was created, designation 1, 2, 3, and 4, I have taken over here in the same manner, and within the expression I'm just doing a simple salary. So that's how you can create a hierarchy and show it in the front end. Well, this is the first part in which I have discussed the basics of hierarchy and how you can process it within the QlikView. In the next video, I will take you to the next level, where you can understand from a reporting perspective and selection perspective how you can do it better. So what I mean by this, let's say if I'm just selecting MD, or MD is not a good example, maybe just COO, then I am able to see the CEO in COO information. No, I think this is not a good example. So for example, from the list, if I just select the COO, you can see my table in which I have all of these calculations is only showing COO. But in the next video, I will show you how you can do an operation where if you're selecting COO, then you will be able to see operation manager and supervisor also within that, so that it is shown as a related information, not as an individual node. So stay tuned to that, and I will meet you in the new video with this new topic.